Feng Xiaotian, who died suddenly from playing with the king's pesticide, crossed the Douluo continent and became Feng Xiaotian, who possesses top-notch beast martial souls and innate soul power. Feng Xiaotian is one of the most tragic characters in Douluo, and one of the stepping stones for Tang San. Those who like him also like Tang San. Unexpectedly, the awakened martial soul underwent another mutation, and the wind double-headed wolf added another wolf head, becoming a three-headed wolf. Surprisingly, he also acquired the skills of the Lanling king, one of the previous kings. The 5 skills of Ji, clone, shadow erosion, assault, and concealment evolved into soul skills. At this point, Feng Xiaotian will no longer be ordinary. Let's see a different world of Douluo. Keywords of the novel. Douluo is Feng Xiaotian with no pop-ups. Douluo is Feng Xiaotian. Download the complete set of TXT. Douluo is Feng Xiaotian's latest chapter for reading. Chapter 1. I am Feng Xiaotian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. I am Feng Xiaotian. Tiando Empire, Les Province, Kamikaze City. In the morning, with a slight dawn, a little boy of 5 or 6 years old, dressed in a single coat, was running on the road inside the Kamikaze Academy. At this moment, beads of sweat dripped down the little boy's forehead, wetting his entire clothes. The steps were a bit unsteady and looked a bit out of sync, but upon closer inspection, one could see sandbags wrapped around the little boy's legs. I'm still a bit forced, I can't bear to add from 3 pounds to 10 pounds at once. The little boy had a determined face, biting his teeth, and lifting his foot felt like he was about to exert all his strength. The students from the passing Kamikaze Academy would all give way to this child, showing their appreciative looks, and some would even take the initiative to greet him. Shenfeng Academy is an advanced Soul Master Academy with wind elements, ranking high in the Heavenly Do Empire and having great influence. In theory, there should not be such a little boy in the Advanced Soul Master Academy. Those who can enter the Advanced Soul Master Academy are at least level 20 Great Soul Masters. But no one dares to say anything wrong about this child here, because this little boy is the son of Feng Qingyuan, the vice president of Shenfeng College, and Qin Chuyue, the academic affairs office of the college. His name is Feng Xiaotian. One is a soul saint at the age of 46 and level 73, and the other is a soul emperor at the age of 43 and level 62. No one dares to have any objections. Although his footsteps were heavy, he persevered all the way. Half an hour later, Feng Xiaotian arrived at a delicate courtyard. "Mom, I'm back," Feng Xiaotian shouted as he entered the courtyard. A beautiful woman who looked around 30 years old came out of the house, and this was Feng Xiaotian's mother Qin Chuyue. She walked briskly to the little boy's side. "Xiaotian has returned. Why do you think you have added so much weight at once? Although becoming a soul master in the future is also important for your body, you are not yet 6 years old, so you cannot break your body by practicing." As Qin Chuyue spoke, she bent down to help him lift the sandbags on his legs. Her son went out to exercise, and she silently guarded along the way. "I know now, Mom. I'm not doing well yet. Besides, I'll turn 6 tomorrow and be able to awaken my martial soul." Feng Xiaotian has some expectations. It has been 6 years since he was born in this world, and finally he is about to endure until he can awaken his martial soul. Also, be aware that in the future, you should act within your capacity. Your sandbag can only be increased to a maximum of 5 pounds, and you can only increase it after you fully adapt. Qin Chuyue doted on her son, who had been very sensible since birth. However, she seemed a bit too obsessed with this cultivation. "Oh, okay then," Feng Xiaotian responded helplessly. He was not born into an ordinary family, and his parents were both soul masters with certain strength and status. He had been thinking about using his hands to exercise his body since he was 3 years old. As a result, he was forcibly stopped by his parents, saying that it was not yet the time to exercise at the age of 3. Feng Xiaotian had to secretly do some ordinary exercises such as sit-ups and push-ups in his room. I only agreed a month ago that he could go out for weight-bearing running exercises. Let's take a shower first and have breakfast. I've already heated the water for you, Qin Chuyue said with a smile. Feng Xiaotian arrived at the bathroom, and the temperature in the bathtub was just right. He took off his clothes and lay inside feeling incredibly relaxed. Looking back on the time when I came to Douluo continent, I was extremely happy. Although being born is not particularly noble, it is not something that one can compare to. Moreover, he has traveled through and occupied the body of the super genius Feng Xiaotian. Those who have seen Douluo continent know that Feng Xiaotian's martial soul is a mutated wind double-headed wolf, who possesses innate full soul power. The twin-headed wolf of the wind is comparable to the top-level beast martial soul, and its innate full soul power is the top talent of Douluo continent. I created my own soul skill, the 30.6 consecutive slashes of the rapid wind, which made Tang San have to use the Haotian hammer. It is evident that Feng Xiaotian has a high talent. Just like this genius figure, in the Douluo continent, he is a soy sauce maker and a stepping stone for Tang San. Even the people he likes have taken a liking to Tang San. It is understandable to say that he is a tragic character in Douluo. 5 years after the Soul Master competition, at level 61, he once again fought against Tang San, and the gap has been far widened. At the age of 24, he is only at level 44. In his past life, he felt it was unreasonable to read novels. His talent is not inferior to other Shrek 7 monsters. They all reached around level 40 between the ages of 14 and 17, just because they were by the side of the protagonist Tang San and ate a fairy grass. The difference between the two is 9 years old, and there is such a big difference. Perhaps it is because they created their own soul skills that delayed their cultivation. Over the next 5 years, from level 44 to level 61, their cultivation speed was not inferior to Tang San, and they were even stronger than the other members of Shrek's 7 monsters. Looking at it this way, it really took up a lot of time. I occupied Feng Xiaotian's body, and I don't know if I could have this kind of insight to create soul skills. After all, I am no longer the Feng Xiaotian in the novel. In his past life, he was just an ordinary person who didn't know any internal skills or how to use poison, and he didn't know if he had the same golden finger as the protagonists in the travel novels of his past life. Thinking of this, Feng Xiaotian clenched his fist and secretly swore that even without golden fingers, with my current talent, I must stand at the top of the mainland and no longer be a stepping stone for others. 20 minutes later, Feng Xiaotian got dressed and arrived at the dining room. Feng Qingyuan and Qin Chuyue were waiting for him. "Mom and Dad, you don't have to wait for me to eat." Feng Xiaotian sat in his usual seat, picked up his chopsticks, and prepared to eat. "It's not your mother yet, I insist on waiting for you to eat together. There are still many things in the college, and I need to handle them early after eating," Feng Qingyuan complained. Qin Chuyue held her breath and said, "Why do you still have any objections? If you have any objections, don't eat." "Hee, my wife, I was wrong." "Wait, can't we wait?" Feng Qingyuan suddenly spoke up. "Don't be fooled by Feng Qingyuan's imposing presence at the Shenfeng Academy, but when you get home, you have to listen to Qin Chuyue for everything. Xiaotian, tomorrow is the day when you awaken your martial soul. I will personally come to awaken you. Don't go out to exercise tomorrow morning, take a good rest." Feng Qingyuan suddenly said seriously. The martial soul is a person's future. Although his martial soul is a powerful wind demon wolf, Qin Chuyue's martial soul is a hummingbird, and his martial soul is not inferior. Even so, there is still a certain chance that they will not inherit their martial souls, and even if they do, they may not have soul power. Although the probability is relatively low, it is not without it. Speaking of this, Qin Chuyue is also a bit worried, after all, she is her own son. They were both born as commoners and stayed behind as a teacher after graduating from Shenfeng Academy. It has been almost 20 years now. They also saw Feng Xiaotian's performance over the years and were eager to become a soul master. They didn't want to disappoint their son. Mom and Dad, don't worry, maybe I'm a top talent with innate soul power. Feng Xiaotian saw his parents' concerns and confidently said. Okay, our son will definitely have amazing talent. Mom believes in you, come on, Qin Shuyue encouraged. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Is still the King of Lanling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Still the King of Lanling. After breakfast, both Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue had to go to the college to handle some matters, leaving Feng Xiaotian alone at home. With nothing to do, Feng Xiaotian is exercising in the small courtyard. The stronger his body, the longer he can absorb soul rings. Everything needs to be prepared for the awakening of the soul ring. The innate full soul power, also known as the level 10 soul warrior, can absorb the soul ring after awakening the martial soul. Since the age of 3, he has been exercising at home on his own. Although he only has 1 day left to turn 6, his physical strength is already comparable to some children aged 8 or 9. Apart from the excellent genes of his parents, that is the gradual exercise over the past 3 years. The dean of the college is basically a hands-off shopkeeper, and everything has to be handled by his father Feng Qingyuan. And Qin Shuyue's academic affairs office is also quite busy with work, and after they leave home, it is time for Feng Xiaotian to exercise alone. Is brother Xiaotian at home? I saw a cute little girl of 5 or 6 years old, tied up a braid and bouncing in. Hearing the shouting, Feng Xiaotian also stopped exercising. Take out the prepared sweat towel and wipe the sweat off your face. Yunxi, why did you come? Feng Xiaotian asked in confusion. The little girl's name is Huang Yunxi, and she was born 1 day later than him. Tomorrow, I will also awaken my martial soul with brother Xiaotian, as well as Wang Lin and Du Qingqing, the 4 of us, Huang Yunxi said with a smile. These children have similar identities and are all children of college teachers, with only a few days of age difference. It is normal to awaken their martial souls together. Oh, that's it, Feng Xiaotian replied. I don't know what kind of martial soul I can awaken. It would be great if I could inherit my mother's martial soul, and then I could have the soul skill of flying in the sky. Huang Yunxi said. You have a 50% chance of inheriting, don't worry, and besides, your father's martial soul is not bad, Feng Xiaotian said. Huang Yunxi approached Feng Xiaotian and said, Brother Xiaotian, let's go find Qingqing and Wang Lin to play. Tomorrow we will awaken our martial souls. Let's rest well today and stop exercising. Feng Xiaotian hesitated a bit. He had played house with a few children several times already, and it was a bit embarrassing for him, a person who was almost 30 years old in both past and present lives, to come and play. Over the years, if it weren't for the sake of not letting his parents and others notice any abnormalities, he would still often play with children of the same age. Let's go, they're all waiting for us. After awakening our martial souls, we all need to practice, and we don't have any more to play with. Huang Yunxi tugged hard. Okay, can't I go yet? Feng Xiaotian agreed. Every time she comes to call herself out to play, if she doesn't go, she will linger in his yard for a day until Qin Shuyue comes back and harshly criticizes him. Feng Xiaotian, who was extremely uncomfortable, spent the whole day playing with Huang Yunxi and 2 other 6-year-old children before returning home in the evening. The next morning. Let's go, Xiaotian. It's time to awaken the martial soul, Feng Qingyuan shouted. Today, both Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue have put off their work, and there is nothing more important than their son awakening his martial soul. Finally, we can awaken our martial soul. Where are we going to awaken? Are we going to the martial soul hall? Feng Xiaotian said excitedly. We are at the Shenfeng Advanced Soul Master Academy. Just awaken your martial souls in your own academy. It's not your turn to intervene in the martial soul hall. Let's go. Feng Qingyuan wore a strong suit today and looked very energetic. Qin Qiuyue is no different, with a heroic demeanor. The three of them arrived in front of a large hall at the Shenfeng Academy, where the three families who needed to awaken their martial souls were all present. Brother Xiaotian, we are here, Huang Yunxi and three other children waved and shouted. Feng Xiaotian nodded in response. Vice Dean, the teachers from several colleges saluted. Open the door, Feng Qingyuan said lightly. Entering the main hall, everyone stood still. Wang Wu, come and have his three children undergo the awakening ceremony. I, the smiling one, will come personally, said Feng Qinghe. Wang Wu arched his hand and said, no problem, all three of you should stand over. Du Qingqing, Wan Lin, and Huang Yunxi stood in front of Wang Wu. Take out 6 black stones from the soul guide and lay them in a hexagonal shape on the ground, then take out a crystal ball in your hand. Wan Lin, why don't you come first and stand inside, close your eyes and feel carefully, said Wang Wu, after all, Wan Lin is his child. As he spoke, Wang Wu's eyes suddenly lit up and he whispered in front of everyone's eyes, Martial Soul Divine Wind Sculpture. A faint blue light was released from his forehead, and a huge divine wind sculpture stood upright on Wang Wu's back. The few children present were not surprised or afraid at all. They had long been accustomed to it, and some were just envious, especially Feng Xiaotian, who had been waiting for this moment for 6 years. Wang Wu quickly shot 6 faint blue rays with both hands and injected them into the 6 black stones on the ground. In an instant, a layer of golden light was released from the 6 stones, forming a faint golden light shield that enveloped Wang Lin. Although adults are accustomed to it, seeing such scenes inevitably reminds them of their past selves. A few children, including Feng Xiaotian, were somewhat excited and didn't know what kind of martial soul Wang Lin would awaken. Gold dots of light drifted out from the black stones and penetrated into Wang Lin's body. Wang Wu looked at his son with a smile and said, extend your right hand. Upon hearing this, Wang Lin instinctively reached out his hand, and all the dots of light immediately gathered in his palm. A small divine wind sculpture appeared in his palm. Wang Wu was delighted in his heart and said, you're good, you inherited my martial soul divine wind carving. Although the divine wind sculpture may not be considered a high-level beast martial soul, it is also a moderately high-level martial soul, which is also considered good. Take back the martial soul, just use your thoughts, Wang Wu ordered. Retrieving the martial soul in his hand, Wang Lin looked at the crystal ball in Wang Wu's hand again. Put your hands on top, Wang Wu said. Wang Lin slowly placed his hand on it and saw the crystal ball shining brightly. If Wang Wu was happy when he saw his son's martial soul just now, then now is an unexpected surprise. Soul power is innate at level 7, not bad. It's 1 level stronger than your father and me back then. Wang Wu said happily, his son's talent has already surpassed him. Congratulations, teacher Wang Wu. Wang Lin is so impressive. Everyone praised it one after another. Next, it's Du Qingqing and Huang Yunxi's turn to move forward. Du Qingqing. The Wind Rabbit has an innate level 7 soul power. Huang Yunxi. The Qingfeng Bird has an innate level 8 soul power. The awakening of their 3 martial souls was very successful, and Wang Wu also regained his soul power. The 2 of them had an innate level 7 soul power, and Huang Yunxi even reached an innate level 8 soul power. Martial souls have inherited the best of their parents, and innate soul power has further surpassed them. Congratulations, the faces of several families all showed joyful smiles. In the end, only Feng Xiaotian remained. Qin Qiuyue also wishes to congratulate a few teachers. The first 3 children have a relatively high tone, all of whom have good martial souls and advanced soul power. The pressure is all on his son Feng Xiaotian. Back then, her soul power was only innate level 6, while Feng Qinghe was more powerful at innate level 8, and she didn't know what kind of martial soul and innate soul power her son could awaken. Under the gaze of everyone, Feng Xiaotian walked into the hexagonal stone formation. His martial soul awakening came from his father Feng Qing, a distant relative. You can worship brother to your heart's content later, Feng Xiaotian thought, feeling incredibly confident in his talent. Feng Qingyuan releases his martial soul, while the wind demon wolf injects his soul power into the black stone. Golden light entered his body, and Feng Xiaotian felt his whole body very warm. Extending his right hand, the golden light slowly began to gather together. The martial soul of Feng Xiaotian slowly formed. Just when Feng Qingyuan saw the gathering of martial souls in Feng Xiaotian, his eyebrows furrowed. He and Qin Chuyue were worried and afraid. A spiky object appeared in Feng Xiaotian's hand, somewhat like a fist holster. What is this? A weapon and martial soul. Feng Qingyuan also saw it for the first time and didn't know it. Feng Xiaotian opened his eyes and looked at his martial soul. Are you joking? Isn't this the punching blade of King Lanling used in the last game of King's pesticide in my past life? How did it hit me? Where is my mutated martial soul, the wind twin-headed wolf? I am Feng Xiaotian, not the King of Lanling. I must have made a mistake. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Fist Blade and Swallowing Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Fist Blade and Swallowing Serious Feng Xiaotian never imagined that his martial soul had turned into the punching blade of King Lanling. It looks exactly like the one in the game, but now it looks very small. Suddenly, everyone in the hall fell silent. Vice Chief Feng Qingyuan's martial soul is the wind demon wolf, while Qin Chuyue's martial soul is the hummingbird. How could it become a weapon martial soul? It's difficult to accept this fact, but we still need to complete the awakening ceremony. Come on, test your soul power, Feng Qingyuan said, somewhat disappointed. He didn't know if his son's martial soul had turned out like this, whether it was good or bad. Although Qin Chuyue had already thought of any possible situation for her son to awaken her martial soul, she didn't expect it to become like this, and felt a bit sad in her heart. No one knows better than her how much her son yearns for cultivation. While Feng Qinghe was speaking, Huang Yunxi seemed to see some differences and said, "Look at Brother Xiaotian's left hand, it seems there is also a martial soul." Huang Yunxi's words woke everyone up and they all looked at Feng Xiaotian's left hand. Do you still have a martial soul? Feng Xiaotian lifted his left hand and saw a martial soul resembling a monster. Is it a wolf? Or 3 heads? 2 of the wolf heads were blue, and the other one seemed somewhat mysterious. Feng Xiaotian always felt like he had seen it there, it was a white wolf head. The other 2 wolf heads lowered their heads when they saw the white ones, as if they were mainly white. Twin martial souls, 3-headed wolves. Mutated martial souls. Feng Qingyuan exclaimed in surprise. Dad, what is a twin martial soul? A mutated martial soul, Wang Lin said, and several children also looked at Wang Wu, all of which they didn't know. Wang Wu replied, twin martial souls refer to a person having 2 martial souls. The mutated martial soul refers to the change in the martial soul that should have occurred. This change can be either a good thing or a bad thing. The martial soul is actually a mutated martial soul. Everyone is a teacher from the Divine Wind Academy and has seen many mutated martial souls. Mutations can be good or bad, but most of them mutate towards the bad. Feng Xiaotian's martial soul not only mutated, but also became a twin martial soul. Next, it depends on whether Feng Xiaotian has soul power. As long as the innate soul power is higher, it indicates that the mutation is in a good direction, while the lower the soul power, it indicates that the mutation has failed. Everyone was focused on watching Feng Xiaotian standing in the hexagonal shape, worried about him. Feng Xiaotian also used his mind to retrieve 2 martial souls and slowly reached out to the crystal ball. You must have strong soul power, come on, son. Qin Shuyue looked at Feng Xiaotian with concern, silently praying for him in her heart. At the moment when Feng Xiaotian placed his hand on the crystal ball, he suddenly felt that the crystal ball was absorbing some energy from his body. These may be my own soul power, awakening my martial soul and also awakening the soul power hidden within my body. The crystal ball began to light up, and a dazzling blue light began to spread from the beginning. In a breath, the crystal ball was as brilliant as a sparkling gemstone, emitting a faint blue halo that looked very beautiful. According to the soul power testing standards of Douluo continent, as long as a single ray of light appears on the crystal ball, it can prove that the tester has soul power. And now the blue light in the crystal ball is so shining, there is only one explanation. The tester's soul power has reached the highest level that can be achieved by nature. Surprisingly, it has innate soul power. It's unbelievable, it's really innate soul power. It seems that Xiaotian's martial soul is not only exceptionally mutated, but also a twin martial soul, genius, truly unparalleled genius. Upon hearing the praises of several teachers, Qin Shuyue's eyes were filled with tears. Her son's martial soul did not mutate and failed, still the legendary martial soul with 3 wolves. It is said that the martial soul with 3 wolves appeared 1,000 years ago and is a truly top-level beast martial soul. Before Feng Xiaotian awakened the martial soul, she had already researched the possibility of her son's appearance of various martial souls. Alright, let's stop it, Feng Qingyuan said lightly, without showing any signs of joy, but rather some worries. Is there anyone in this world who can cultivate twin martial souls? The previous twin martial soul player died due to a conflict between martial souls. Can his own son solve all of this? Note. Only a few people know about the twin martial souls of the Pope. These 2 martial souls are somewhat different. You can choose 2 names yourself, Feng Qingyuan said with a smile. No matter what, he should be happy to have such a top-level talent. As for whether it can solve the problem of twin martial souls, we can only take one step at a time to see. Feng Xiaotian once again released 2 martial souls. Raising his right hand, he said, "You should still call it the fist blade." Looking to his left hand again, Feng Xiaotian seemed to remember that this wolf was designed by him. In his past life, his name was Feng Xiaotian and he was a game designer. On the day of his sudden death, he designed the strongest divine beast in the game world, the swallowing demon wolf. After the design was completed, he didn't shut down, and the interface was still the design page of the swallowing demon wolf. Then he sat in front of the computer, picked up his phone, and played with King's pesticide before continuing with the design. Before that, he had been working continuously for 26 hours. After only playing half of a game, he felt dizzy and plummeted, and then woke up as a laughing stock of his infancy. It seems that the heavens are still treating me well. The divine beast I designed should now be called a soul beast, and his abilities are naturally extremely clear. After thinking for a while, Feng Xiaotian spoke up and said, "Let's call it Swallow the Wolf." In just 3 words, the mutated and mutated Gale Wolf cannot be described as Gale. Okay, let's call it Swallowing Wolf, a domineering name. Feng Qingyuan clapped his hands and said. After speaking, Feng Qingyuan came back and looked seriously at everyone present. My son Feng Xiaotian has awakened his twin martial souls, and everyone has seen his innate full soul power. I hope everyone can keep it a secret for now. I understand, it's just these twin martial souls. Several teachers were a bit puzzled, not knowing how to cultivate twin martial souls. Don't worry, everyone. We'll find a way, said Feng Qingyuan. Feng Xiaotian also understands everyone's concerns. No one knows the problem of twin martial souls better than him. Before having a strong body, one can only cultivate one martial soul. Alright, everyone's martial souls have awakened today. Let's all go back together, Qin Shuyue said. After bidding farewell, Feng Xiaotian followed Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue back home. The three of them didn't speak along the way. Their martial soul was good and their soul power was at full level, but the only thing that mattered was their twin martial soul, as they couldn't solve it either. Qiuyue, do you think we should tell the martial soul hall about Xiaotian's martial soul situation? They may have a solution, Feng Qingyuan said. Martial soul hall. I think it's better not to do it. Will they take their son for research? Qin Qiuyue worried. What? Martial soul hall. Never, Mom is right. I don't want to be used as a research object, Feng Xiaotian said loudly. End of this chapter. 4. Chapter 4. The Soul Skills of the Fist Blade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Soul Skills of the Fist Blade. For the study of martial souls, only the Martial Soul Hall is the most authoritative on the mainland today, so Feng Qingyuan immediately thought of the Martial Soul Hall. After careful consideration of Qin Qiuyue and Feng Xiaotian's words, he felt that it was also reasonable. After all, the twin martial souls were too rare. Who knows how they will cultivate their own son? He knows that there are different people in the Martial Soul Hall. If he encounters an evil martial soul researcher, his own son will suffer. Okay, let's not consider the Martial Soul Hall for now. Both of us should go to the library to check the materials. Unless we find a definite method, Xiaotian should not absorb soul rings. Feng Qingyuan decided. The library of Shenfeng Academy has a relatively complete collection of books, so you should be able to find some information. Feng Xiaotian knows his parents' concerns. Can he just cultivate one martial soul? Now, as a 6-year-old child, he may not believe what he says. Qin Qiuyue was afraid that Feng Xiaotian would not understand, so she decided to tell him some questions about the twin martial souls. Qin Qiuyue squatted down and supported Feng Xiaotian's shoulders with both hands, saying, "Son, your martial soul and talent are unparalleled in ancient and modern times. Geniuses among geniuses, just because their talents are too strong, there may also be some problems." What question? Feng Xiaotian pretended to ask. Cultivating two martial souls may lead to a conflict between them, potentially causing them to explode and die, which is extremely dangerous. As far as we know, you are the second one to possess a twin martial soul, and all we know is the experience of your predecessor's failure. Qin Qiuyue said. Their knowledge is far inferior to that of Haotian Douluo Tang Hao and Master. After learning about Tang San's martial soul, they would both suggest that they can only choose to cultivate one martial soul first. I know you have always longed to become a soul master, but you still need to wait for a while. It's not too late for us to find a more formal method to practice again. Feng Xiaotian nodded and said, "Mom, I know now. I will definitely find a way. Anyway, he's not in a hurry at the moment to get his first soul ring right away. Let's wait for Feng Qingyuan and Qin Qiuyue to investigate for a while before we can talk." Okay, Xiaotian, as long as you understand, you can continue to exercise during this period. You can also go to the library with us to read some materials about soul master cultivation, Qin Qiuyue said again. Come, son, this is for you as a reward for awakening your martial soul. Feng Qingyuan took out a small green bag and handed it to Feng Xiaotian. Is this a soul guide? Feng Xiaotian said that only those with soul power can use soul guides. That's right, this is a spatial soul guide. I call it a treasure bag, which has 10 cubic meters of space inside, and even living creatures can be stored, Feng Qingyuan explained. Really? That's great. Feng Xiaotian took Feng Qingyuan's treasure bag and immediately used his soul power to test the tea cup on the nearby table. Qingyuan, you finally gave up. This is your treasure. Last time I asked you for it, you didn't even give it. It turned out it was for your son, Qin Qiuyue joked. That's right, only a son deserves such a good thing, right? Feng Qingyuan laughed. Yes, you're all right. Xiaotian will release your martial soul, Qin Shuyue said and looked at Feng Xiaotian again. On the surface, both of them are very calm, but in fact, they are particularly worried about Feng Xiaotian. Tie the Baibao bag around his waist, and Feng Xiaotian extends his hands while releasing his martial soul. His left hand is the swallowing wolf, and his right hand is the fist blade. Just now, they didn't carefully study Feng Xiaotian's martial soul. Now, upon closer inspection, they noticed a difference, especially the special white wolf head, which seemed to have a majestic aura of dominating the world. It is an extremely special martial soul. Two martial souls, Feng Xiaotian knows their origins. Suddenly, he had an idea, could the fist blade be attached to him like the previous King of Lanling? Just as I had this idea, I saw a change in the martial soul fist blade on my right hand, and it was actually worn on his hand. At the same time, information about some fist blades appeared in his mind. Skills. Surprisingly possessing the skills of the King of Lanling, he was also brought along. Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue also noticed Feng Xiaotian's abnormality and looked at their son in surprise. What's wrong with Xiaotian? Qin Shuyue asked with concern. Dad, Mom, your worries seem a bit unnecessary. This doesn't seem like a martial soul, and I'm not a true twin martial soul, Feng Xiao said excitedly. What? It's not a martial soul. How could it be? Feng Qingyuan said incredulously. From the moment he put on the fist blade, Feng Xiaotian had already received its information from the fist blade. This fist blade was just his weapon, existing only in the form of a martial soul, and could not add a soul ring. So strictly speaking, the fist blade cannot be considered a true martial soul, it can only be counted as half at most, because it cannot add soul rings. This kind of thing has never happened before, and neither of them understands, as if there are several question marks hanging on their heads. It told me, and I already have several soul skills to use it, Feng Xiaotian said, looking at the fist blade on his right hand. He had no intention of hiding any information from his parents, so he told them some information about fist blade. Even if he didn't say it today, he would still know it in the future. It's better to say it earlier so that they can dispel some worries and concerns. Soul skills. Do you say you already have soul skills, or a few? Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue said at the same time. Yes, I have already acquired some soul skills, but only a part of them can be used now, replied Feng Xiaotian. He possesses all the skills possessed by King Lanling among the kings, and he still appears in the form of soul skills. Feng Xiaotian's words have overturned his understanding of martial souls. What soul skill? Can you show us it? Feng Qingyuan's voice trembled slightly. The martial soul was too powerful, and even after awakening, he had soul skills. We can't do it here, let's go into the yard, Feng Xiaotian said. The three of them arrived at the small courtyard, with Feng Xiaotian and Feng Qingyuan separated by about 20 meters. Then Feng Xiaotian retrieved his martial soul, and in this situation, he could not use soul skills because they were passive and could be triggered at any time as long as they were worn. Feng Xiaotian ran to Feng Qingyuan at his fastest speed and said, "This is my usual fastest speed." After speaking, he returned to his previous position, put on his punching blade again, and regarded his father Feng Qingyuan as an imaginary opponent. My first soul skill, I call it, Secret Skill G, increases speed by 20% when moving towards opponents or enemies. Just as he set off, Feng Xiaotian felt his soul power depleting and his body seemed to become much lighter. His speed increased from the moment he started. Stop in front of Feng Qingyuan again. Mom and Dad, what do you think? My speed has improved a lot, Feng Xiaotian said. Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue thought their son was joking again, but after seeing their son personally demonstrate it, they believed that the speed had really increased by 20% compared to what their son had just said. They are all born in the Divine Wind Academy and are wind-type soul masters who are more sensitive to speed than anyone else. Looking at the surprise on his parents' faces, Feng Xiaotian said again, the remaining two skills, which I can only use once a day, are called Termination and Recovery. The passive skill G and two summoner skills have ended, and Recovery is now available for use. The four major skills of Secret Technique Concealment, Secret Technique Clone, Secret Technique Shadow Erosion, and Secret Technique Ambush cannot be used at present, and can only be used when reaching a certain level of strength. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Termination and Restoration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Termination and Restoration 5 Exclusive Skills, 1 Summoner Skill, and 1 Hero's Own Skill Restoration. What surprised Feng Xiaotian the most was the Termination and Restoration. When he played, he brought the Termination skill, which can also be called Slash. Originally, the focus of their Shenfeng Academy was on speed, as fast as lightning, and Feng Xiaotian's soul skill can still enhance his speed by 20%. Equivalent to further improving in one's own strengths. When a person's speed is cultivated to the extreme, it is difficult to improve even a little. This skill called G can actually increase by 20%, comparable to the role of a powerful auxiliary soul master. After a while, Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue finally emerged from their surprise. This soul skill is really amazing. You said there are still 2 soul skills, can you also use them? Feng Qingyuan said eagerly. My son brought him too many surprises today, awakening a martial soul that no one on the whole continent has ever obtained. After awakening, he immediately only brought soul skills. The remaining 2 soul skills are even more eagerly anticipated by Feng Qingyuan. Dad, Mom, it seems that our small courtyard cannot be used, and the remaining 2 soul skills are more suitable for practical combat, Feng Xiaotian said. Practical combat. Then use it on me, Feng Qingyuan said confidently. As a soul saint at level 73, he is still afraid of the soul skills of a soul warrior at level 10. Used on Dad. This doesn't seem very good, Feng Xiaotian thought. While restoring skills is possible, ending is definitely not possible. Qin Shuyue hesitated when she saw Feng Xiaotian, but at the same time said, Don't worry, Xiaotian. Your father has rough skin and thick flesh, even if you use your soul skills. No, my soul skill is not suitable for Dad. Let's go find a soul beast to try, Feng Xiaotian said. Ending a skill is not just for fun. To unleash its effectiveness, the opponent must be injured. Without an injured skill, it is useless. Moreover, whether you are an ordinary soul master or a titled Douluo, the damage caused is the same. He doesn't want Feng Qingyuan to be injured. Soul beasts. Let's go to the back mountain of the Divine Wind Academy. Although there are not many powerful soul beasts there are still some soul beasts from over a decade that can be used to give it a try, Qin Shuyue suggested. Shenfeng City is named after Shenfeng Academy, which is not actually located in Shenfeng City, but under a high mountain several kilometers away. Because there is another canyon in this high mountain, filled with cold hurricanes, also known as Hurricane Valley. Many students from Kamikaze Academy choose where to practice, and Kamikaze Academy has always been established here because of the existence of Hurricane Valley. Then let's go somewhere, Feng Xiaotian said, experiencing the benefits of the extreme. He is now looking forward to these 2 skills very much, and only when he uses them truly will he feel at ease. According to Qin Shuyue's proposal, the 2 of them took Feng Xiaotian and quickly arrived at a remote place in the back mountain. For over a decade, soul beasts have been relatively weak, similar to some ordinary wild beasts. Just as they walked along, many soul beasts felt the momentum of Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue dodge. Dad, I need an injured soul beast that only has about 10% vitality left, Feng Xiaotian said. This is a small idea. Feng Qingyuan immediately rushed out and entered the jungle. 1 minute later, he saw a gray rabbit in his hand that had been severely injured and thrown to the ground. The name of this soul skill is Ending, Go to Hell with me, Feng Xiaotian said, using the ending skill on this wild rabbit. I only heard a faint blue halo emanating from around the gray rabbit's body, and with a whimper, it completely lost its breath. Son, what's the use of your end? Qin Shuiyue asked curiously. This skill is called Terminate, and after use, it can immediately deal damage to enemies around it, adding 14% more damage to the previous level of damage. This skill also has its drawbacks. One is that it must be used when the opponent is seriously injured, and the other is that it can only be used once a day. Feng Xiaotian spoke out in one breath the effects and drawbacks of the ending skill. This skill. When it's crucial, it might be a life-saving skill, Feng Qingyuan thought to himself. If two people fight endlessly and both suffer serious injuries, using this skill can immediately turn the situation around and even kill the opponent with one blow. This skill has the same effect on anyone, even if they are titled Douluo, Feng Xiaotian continued. What? Even the title Douluo can be useful, Feng Qingyuan exclaimed in surprise. What about the other soul skill? Qin Shuiyue asked eagerly. The final soul skill is called Recovery, and its function is to heal. It can recover certain injuries and soul power at once, but it can only be used for oneself. Recovery. Treatment, Qin Shuiyue said. Feng Xiaotian nodded and replied, yes, you can also say that. After speaking, Feng Xiaotian took out the small knife that had already been prepared. What are you going to do, Xiaotian? Demonstrating. After speaking, he cut his arm with a knife, and blood flowed out loud. Recovery. Suppressing the pain, Feng Xiaotian silently recited, using his skills. After using the skill, a light blue light shone on his body, and finally the light focused on his injured area. He immediately felt the pain disappear and his blood stopped flowing. It was just an instant, and the wound just now disappeared. Recovered. Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuiyue exclaimed in surprise, while also examining Feng Xiaotian's recent wound. It was truly restored to its original state. It's really incredible. One speed, one attack, and one that can restore soul power and heal injuries are all incredible soul skills. Is this what a newly awakened martial soul should have? Don't worry, parents. All I need to do is cultivate my martial soul and swallow the heavenly wolf. There won't be any conflict, Feng Xiaotian said. This. Your martial soul is unheard of, and to be honest, even your parents cannot help you. It's estimated that no one on this continent can understand your fist blade martial soul, Qin Shuiyue hesitated. Such a powerful and excellent martial soul, the more outstanding Feng Xiaotian is, the more worried they become. Feng Xiaotian now doesn't know how to persuade them to find the master. It seems somewhat impossible, and I don't know where the master is now. Even if I find them, will they believe what the master says? Shuiyue, my son should be right. The previous owner of the twin martial soul died from a conflict and adding a third soul ring to the second martial soul. Xiaotian only needs to add a soul ring to Swallowing Wolf. And Xiaotian also said that this fist blade is not a real martial soul and cannot add a soul ring. Feng Qingyuan pondered for a long time and expressed his thoughts. You're right, we should trust our son, Qin Shuiyue replied. So I can absorb soul rings now. Feng Xiaotian said happily. Qin Shuiyue nodded and said, yes, you can add soul rings anytime. I'm still practicing for a while, and I'll get my body stronger, Feng Xiaotian said. He, who is familiar with Douluo continent, is also aware of the maximum number of years that soul rings can be added at each stage. With this advantage, he wants to improve his physical condition to the highest level and reach the limit of soul ring absorption. Let's go, the soul skill has been used and it's time to go back. Today, I'm going to make some delicious food to celebrate the day when Xiaotian awakens his martial soul, and it's also Xiaotian's birthday. Qin Shuiyue and Feng Qingyuan turned around and prepared to leave, but Feng Xiaotian did not leave. His left hand, swallowing the heavenly wolf, had already reacted. Since it is called swallowing wolf, as the name suggests, it is the ability to devour. Release the martial soul swallowing the heavenly wolf and gently absorb a breath next to the recently deceased grey rabbit's soul beast. The grey rabbit turned into ashes just now. It seems that swallowing the heavenly wolf is still somewhat unsatisfied, as if saying that this is not enough for him to eat. Xiaotian, what are you doing? It's time to go, Qin Shuyue shouted. Feng Xiaotian quickly withdrew his martial soul and turned around, saying, "Oh, I'm here." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hurricane Valley Exercise, Part 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Hurricane Valley Exercise, Part 1. He told Feng Qingyuan and Qin Shuyue about his martial soul characteristics, but he has no intention of expressing the special intention of swallowing the heavenly wolf now. Just the soul skills inherent in the fist blade have surprised and shocked them, and he has not yet fully understood the specific information of swallowing Sirius. The people that Feng Xiaotian can trust in this world are now their parents. For 6 years, their meticulous care for themselves has been seen in their eyes and remembered in their hearts. Telling them the secret of the fist blade also dispelled their concerns and worries. After all, his fate was different from Tang San's. He had a powerful father named Douluo and a teacher who knew about martial souls. At the same time, he also brought many cheats with him, including internal skills and martial arts unique to him in the Xiantian treasure record. Amazing talent with added cheats, and an invincible master in theory, these people are not strong and talented. Now their talents are not inferior to Tang San, and they also have their own experiences. Simply put, they are also cheats. In theory, Tang San will only be born in about 4 years, and it is uncertain who the protagonist of this continent will be. 10 years longer than Tang San, he still doesn't believe it. Feng Xiaotian in this life can't do Tang San. Returning home, Qin Shuyue prepared a lot of food that Feng Xiaotian liked to eat. Neither of them went to the college to work today, but simply stayed at home with Feng Xiaotian. Having a happy and relaxed day like this makes Feng Xiaotian very satisfied with such a happy family. In his past life, he also had parents, but his parents divorced when he was 6 or 7 years old. He was basically raised by his grandparents. I basically didn't feel much love from my parents, and when my grandparents passed away, I lived alone. What was missing in the previous life has been made up for in this life. Feng Xiaotian also swore to be strong and protect this family. After dinner, Feng Xiaotian returned to his room, and his mother Qin Shuyue also followed him. Xiaotian, did you say today that you need to exercise for a period of time to obtain a soul ring? Feng Xiaotian nodded and said, "Yes, Mom. I've heard that the stronger the body, the stronger it can absorb the strongest soul rings. I didn't expect my son to know the precautions for absorbing soul rings. The stronger the body, the stronger it can withstand soul rings. However, she doesn't know how long the first soul ring can absorb it. Generally speaking, it is not a problem for a normal person's first soul ring to absorb soul rings between 100 and 200 years old. This is what Qin Shuyue knows." "Where did you hear that?" Qin Shuyue asked curiously. Feng Xiaotian smiled and rubbed his head to answer, "It seems like I heard a student say it while I was strolling around the college." "Did you hear what people said?" Qin Shuyue asked in confusion, as if this sentence was not unreasonable. Feng Xiaotian can't possibly say he already knew. Anyway, if his parents ask him, he can't remember who said it. There are more than 600 students at the Shenfeng Academy, how could it be that they could find out who said it? Qin Shuyue pondered for a while and said, "Then I'll listen to you. I'll let you exercise for a month first, but I'll have to personally guide you to practice this month." "What? Mom, are you here to teach me?" Feng Xiaotian sat up from the bed and said in surprise. "Yeah, I won't care about anything in the academy for the next month. I'll just watch you cultivate and train for a month, and then we'll go hunt soul beasts to obtain soul rings for you. Qin Shuyu decided. How should Mom exercise? Feng Xiaotian asked curiously. You will know then, Qin Shuyu smiled. Then he took out 2 books from the Soul Guide and handed them to Feng Xiaotian. This is the cultivation method of soul power, and there are also some information about soul beasts. You are born with full soul power, and currently cultivation cannot increase much soul power. Everything needs to wait for you to obtain the soul ring. Now you can take a look when you have time. Take over 2 thick books. Thank you, Mom, Feng Xiaotian said with gratitude. Silly son, I'm your mother. Why don't you say thank you? Take a good rest today, and don't feel tired for the next month. Be prepared to endure hardship, Qin Shuyu said as she slowly withdrew from Feng Xiaotian's room. After Qin Shuyu left, Feng Xiaotian couldn't wait to open the book he had given him. The cultivation of soul power was achieved through meditation, but this was the most primitive and rudimentary way of cultivation. He has the soul skill that comes with his fist blade and the ability to swallow the serious, but he doesn't have any internal skill that can be used for cultivation. There is no optimal route for soul power cultivation, only this most primitive method can be used, which is currently the only limiting factor for his growth. Qin Shuyu returned to her room and Feng Qinyuan immediately asked, Do you really want to personally train your son? Are you still in Hurricane Valley? Yeah, what's wrong? Are you heartbroken? Qin Shuyu replied. That's the method you used back then. At that time, you were already 17 years old, and I don't know if your son could endure this kind of hardship. Feng Qinyuan was a little worried. Don't worry, our son is not an ordinary person. I believe he can persevere, and he didn't reach that intensity at first. Just need to be at the outermost edge, Qin Shuyu explained. Feng Qinyuan nodded in agreement, then looked at Qin Shuyu with a mischievous expression. What are you going to do? Wife, if we have a son, shouldn't we also have a daughter? Feng Qinyuan hugged Qin Shuyu and continued. That night, Feng Xiaotian basically browsed through the thick 2 books once and saw information about tens of thousands of soul beasts, although he could not remember much. But they also have an impression. He just awakened his martial soul, as if his hearing had improved. He heard some inappropriate sounds and didn't sleep well all night. Early the next morning, Feng Xiaotian appeared in front of Qin Shuyu and Feng Qinyuan with a big black eye circle. What's wrong, son? You didn't sleep well last night? Qin Shuyu asked. Fortunately, it's a bit late reading. Can he say that he didn't sleep well after listening to some sounds? Can you practice today? Qin Shuyu asked with concern. No problem, you can practice, Feng Xiaotian replied. After breakfast, Feng Xiaotian followed his mother Qin Shuyu towards the back mountain of Shenfeng Academy. Running up the mountain for about half an hour, Feng Xiaotian suddenly felt that the wind's speed around him had increased, making it even more difficult to run. The further you go, the more desolate the surroundings become, and the vegetation becomes less and less. During this period, some students from the Kamikaze Academy passed by. Finally, they arrived at the edge of a cliff, about 300 meters away from the bottom of the cliff. Looking towards the distance from the bottom of the cliff, 2 mountains crisscrossed each other, forming a landscape of a sky. Mom, is this the Hurricane Valley that our Shenfeng Academy uses for cultivation? Feng Xiaotian asked. That's right, this is Hurricane Valley. We'll be practicing here for the next month. Come on, son, bring this. Qin Shuyu handed Feng Xiaotian a black mask after finishing. The mask is a bit large and can basically cover the entire face, leaving only the area around the eyes. The wind below is even stronger, and if it blows too much, the skin will easily dry out. I don't want my son's handsome face to be ruined after exercising, Qin Shuyu said with a smile. Feeling the original stroke, Xiaotian has been wearing a mask all along, and can still maintain a strong body with Tang San, forcing Tang San to use skills such as Xuanyu's hands and Ghost Shadow and Mistake. It turned out that all of this was thanks to the exercise of his mother Qin Chuyue. Perhaps due to staying in Hurricane Valley for a long time, a habit has naturally formed and people wear masks in their daily lives. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Hurricane Valley Cultivation, Middle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Hurricane Valley Cultivation, Middle, both of them put on masks, and the height of these 300 meters is basically a straight cliff. It is impossible for him to go down alone without external force. At the same time, he also looked around and found 3 ways to get down. One was that the college had already prepared a rope ladder, the second was to use his own flying soul skills to fly down, and the last was to rely on someone else's help to take him down. How should we get down? Feng Xiaotian asked. Qin Chuyue glanced at the rope ladder over there and said, "That's it. Now everything depends on you. Although it's only 300 meters high, it's downward, which can exercise your strength and courage." "I know, I'll use the rope ladder to get down," Feng Xiaotian said. Without any resistance, Qin Chuyue agreed to go down the rope ladder directly, which made Qin Chuyue very pleased. After all, she was still a 6-year-old child, and many nearly 20-year-old soul masters came here with some fear, and some even dared not go down, so they gave up practicing in Hurricane Valley. Hurricane Valley can be said to be a unique cultivation treasure trove of Kamikaze Academy. Feng Xiaotian arrived at the rope ladder, and several young students from the Shenfeng Academy were also preparing to go down. "Isn't this Feng Xiaotian? How did you come here?" a few young students asked curiously, as many students at the Shenfeng Academy knew him. "I'm also here to exercise, get down from here," Feng Xiaotian said, pointing to the rope ladder. A few students were immediately startled upon hearing this. Feng Xiaotian, who was only 6 years old, dared to come here to practice and even went down the rope ladder. "Xiaotian, are you joking? Are you coming down from here? Do your father, Vice Dean Feng and Director Qin, know?" At this moment, the teacher on duty in Hurricane Valley also came to Feng Xiaotian and asked. "Teacher Lu, you are here today. Don't worry if you have nothing to do. I sent Xiaotian here to practice. Like other students, he will come down from here. You can continue," Qin Chuyue said with a serious expression on her face. She is the director of the Academic Affairs Office and also a Soul Emperor. This teacher is at most in her 40s, and in the eyes of outsiders, Qin Chuyue is a strict person. "Okay, Xiaotian, you come first," Teacher Lu said. Feng Xiaotian came first, and the few students did not object. Instead, they looked curiously, wanting to know what kind of performance Feng Xiaotian would have. The teacher surnamed Lu tied a rope around his waist, which was a protective rope. The college also provided certain protective measures to protect the students. Then Feng Xiaotian arrived at the edge of the cliff, at a height of 300 meters. Looking down, he said it was impossible to be afraid of it. Although he had played such extreme sports in his past life, standing here still feels a bit weak. Especially when strong winds hit the Hurricane Valley, it seemed like I was almost unable to stand. "Let's go down," Qin Chuyue said. Feng Xiaotian no longer hesitated and descended the rope ladder. As he went down, he clearly felt the increase in wind speed and the rope ladder constantly swaying. To maintain a stable downward position, one must exert full body force, especially the strength of both feet and arms. The strong winds blowing out of Hurricane Valley are the strongest. Only by experiencing it firsthand can one understand the difficulties involved. No wonder Mom wants to get herself down the rope ladder. As he took the second step down, he encountered another difficulty, which was that the distance between the 2 steps of the rope ladder was not something he could reach now. At the age of 6, he is not short either, but this is all for adults. Only at a height of 1.2 meters can he reach a height of 20.30 centimeters when he steps down, which is enough to focus more. Director Qin, is this too difficult for Xiaotian? Teacher Lu looked at Feng Xiaotian and said with some reluctance. It's okay, I believe him. You all keep going, Qin Shuyue said, and behind her, a hummingbird's wing unfolded, which was her sole skill. Flying off the cliff to observe her son Feng Xiaotian's every move, she would take immediate action to protect him if there were any unexpected incidents. I tried my feet down a few times and couldn't exert any force. I could only grip the rope and use my arm's strength to gradually descend, then come to the point of force. Afterwards, he didn't immediately go down, but rested for a few seconds and then went down again. There were about 500 rope ladders for 300 meters, and he had to maintain his stamina gradually, just like in his previous life's long distance running, and he had to allocate his stamina reasonably. Walking down step by step, those students from the Shenfeng Academy did not dislike Feng Xiaotian's slow pace. Feng Xiaotian dared not look down, with only one belief in his heart. One more step down will lead to the end. Qin Shuyue was very pleased. Her son was very intelligent and knew how to save energy. This was the first time she practiced like this, and she knew how to arrange her energy reasonably. She truly deserved to be her son. Going further down, the wind's speed became faster and faster, and the rope ladder swayed violently. Feng Xiaotian tightly grasped the rope. From a distance, the 300-meter-long rope ladder is still shaped like a crescent moon in the wind. Sometimes even one section blows to the right and the other blows to the left, forming different directions. A strong wind blew, causing Feng Xiaotian to quickly wrap his hands and feet around the rope. When the wind calmed down a bit, he went down again. About 20 minutes later, he had already walked down more than 200 rope ladders, only halfway down the distance. His stamina was already a bit behind him, and he almost let go several times. Grasping the rope with both hands, there was already some trembling, as if it had reached its limit. Looking at her son from afar, Qin Shuyue also felt a little heartbroken, but she didn't turn back when she arched. She knew that her son's strength and stamina were stronger than those of her peers. At this point, you can't shout to stop. Once you start, how will you practice later? Did you stop when you encountered difficulties? She cannot instill such ideas in her son. She will only take action when encountering real danger. Besides, Feng Xiaotian has not given up on herself, and as a mother, she should not give up. Come on, son, Qin Shuyue silently encouraged. Feng Xiaoxiangxia's rope ladder has attracted the attention of many people. After all, he is only a 6-year-old child, and most of the students in the entire college are over 16 years old. If these people cannot come down, it is a shame, but for a 6-year-old child, it is a normal phenomenon that they cannot come down. If they do come down, it is a miracle. Feng Xiaotian did not pay attention to the actions of others, his eyes fixed on the wind's speed with all his heart. When the wind is strong, he stops at the point of focus to rest, and when the wind is slightly less, he goes down the rope ladder. Physical strength, and perseverance are all being tested. Suddenly, Feng Xiaotian's strength didn't keep up and he actually let go. The whole person was blown away and detached from the rope ladder. If it weren't for a protective rope, he would have fallen off now. Qin Shuyue still couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to help Feng Xiaotian. But just as I wanted to take action, I gave up the whole idea. Because she saw Feng Xiaotian holding onto the rocks in the cliff with his hands, gradually approaching the rope ladder. Damn it, can't I even get off a rope ladder? Feng Xiaotian gritted his teeth and said, while stepping on the rocks and using both hands and feet, he jumped back up the rope ladder with all his might. It was really thrilling. Just now, Feng Xiaotian was also startled. In such a strong wind, a few drops of cold sweat flowed from his forehead. If it weren't for the protective rope, he would be finished. Seeing Feng Xiaotian return to the rope ladder again, everyone applauded. It's unbelievable that a 6-year-old child can achieve this level. Due to the similarity between the name of the protagonist's father, Feng Qinghe, and Xue Qinghe, it may affect the appearance when pronounced. Therefore, the name is changed to Feng Qingyuan, and 2 skills have also been modified. The end is still there, and the purification has been changed to restore. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Hurricane Valley Cultivation, Part 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Hurricane Valley Cultivation, Part 2, Return to the rope ladder and make Feng Xiaotian pay more attention and be more careful. Faced with a sudden accident, he also began to think and came up with new ideas. Why can't we use the wind ourselves? Or find the pattern? This decline is too slow, and his stamina is already a bit behind. Since in Hurricane Valley, the wind affects the rope ladder, so you can use this to find a suitable rhythm and quickly descend. Thinking of this, Feng Xiaotian did not take immediate action, but stopped on the rope ladder. Close your eyes and carefully feel the wind blowing in, its speed, direction, and pattern. Qin Shuyue looked at Feng Xiaotian, who had closed her eyes and remained motionless. Did she have any thoughts? After about 3 minutes, Feng Xiaotian opened his eyes again. I saw him jump down and let go of his hands, tilting his body to the right for about half a distance. After falling, Feng Xiaotian happened to stand in the middle of the rope ladder. After standing still, he grabbed the rope with both hands. Success, Feng Xiaotian said happily. On his first attempt, he discovered the direction of the wind here, which happened to be to the right. Based on the speed and intensity of the wind, he calculated the position of the next step of the rope ladder to swing. In this way, as long as he grabs the rope with his hands to maintain balance while exerting force, he can save a lot of energy. What's going on? Is there another way? Many students from the college were surprised. Just now Feng Xiaotian showed them a new way to descend the rope ladder. Success was achieved on the first attempt, which gave him a lot of confidence. Later, the speed of Feng Xiaoxiangxia's rope ladder was not much different from that of some students from the Shenfeng Academy. At first, he descended 1 level at a time, then 2 levels, and finally he started trying to descend 3 rope ladders at once. This speed is simply comparable to that of a student who has been practicing these practices all year round. I was stunned by the student teachers and Qin Shuyue at the Shenfeng Academy. Such behavior would be easily accepted if students in their 20s were to perform, but Feng Xiaotian is still a 6-year-old child and doesn't even have a soul ring. Qin Shuyue was so happy in her heart. When her son was so young, he could think of using the wind instead of resisting it. This is what a true cultivator should do. Feng Xiaotian did what students at Shenfeng College should do, feeling the wind, understanding the wind, and ultimately utilizing it. Thinking that my son could comprehend these things in less than an hour can only be described as a genius. At present, coming here to practice is purely for exercising Feng Xiaotian's body, which goes against the original intention because the various negative effects of the wind on people can only have the effect of exercising the body. This way, descending from the rope ladder reduces a lot of physical exercise. At the last 50 meters left, the rope ladder swayed away and seemed unable to descend 3 steps at once, even the first step was a bit difficult. The wind speed was too fast, and the previous set didn't work, and Feng Xiaotian returned to the initial state. However, this saved a lot of energy, and in less than 10 minutes, Feng Xiaotian had already reached the ground. I was so tired that I collapsed on the ground. He needs to rest, which will bring many people closer to him. Xiaotian, that's amazing. How did you do it just now? Yeah, Xiaotian, just tell us. Several students turned to him for advice. It's not a big deal, as long as you figure out the wind speed, direction, and intensity, and finally determine the position of the next rope ladder, Feng Xiaotian explained. After listening to it, several people suddenly realized and expressed gratitude to Feng Xiaotian. This was not a very profound thing, and Feng Xiaotian was also willing to share it. Qin Shuyue once again came to Feng Xiaotian's side, withdrew her wings, and said, "Not bad, we can get these analyses at that time. Now let's move on to the next cultivation." "Okay, let's get started," Feng Xiaotian said excitedly. "Practicing here is definitely better than running in the academy himself." Several students saw the leader of their academic affairs office coming and bowed before leaving. Qin Shuyue looked at the mouth of Hurricane Valley and said, "There is still 1 kilometer away from the real Hurricane Valley. You have been practicing here for the past month. What should we do?" Feng Xiaotian asked. "Here, you need to learn to stand first, follow me, and go to the mouth of the Hurricane Valley first." Qin Shuyue finished speaking and walked towards the direction of the Hurricane Valley mouth. At a distance of 1 kilometer, there are basically no plants inside, only various strange and weathered stones. Faced with a severe hurricane, it cannot be considered a real hurricane outside. The real hurricane is in the Hurricane Valley. Feng Xiaotian followed behind Qin Shuyue step by step, each step extremely difficult, as if walking faster could potentially be blown away. At a distance of 1,000 meters, after walking for half an hour, Feng Xiaotian couldn't bear it anymore when he reached the mouth of the Hurricane Valley. His body was too small and too light, and when the wind blew, he was about to fly away. At first, he was able to bear it, but later on he could only move forward holding onto a stone along the way. Qin Shuyue stopped and said, "Your exercise task for this month is to survive outside this Hurricane Valley. The first step is to stand. Station. That's right, you need to stand firm at the strongest wind point outside. If you can't even stand firm, there's no need to talk about other practices," Qin Shuyue explained. "I understand, I will work hard," Feng Xiaotian said firmly. Just like on a rope ladder, tie a rope around his waist, which is about 5 meters long. He stood at the wind, and Feng Xiaotian stood directly with his previous life's horse stance, facing the piercing strong wind. Touch Feng Xiaotian was blown away and tripped to the ground. Forcefully stand up, step by step return to the origin, continue to stand still, and soon be blown away again. Qin Shuyue also looked at her son's strange posture, which seemed somewhat different. On the first day, Feng Xiaotian was blown away countless times, until he was exhausted both physically and mentally, and was carried back home by Qin Shuyue. He really has no strength left. Even Qin Shuyue helped him take a shower. He insisted on taking his own shower after the age of 3, which was a bit awkward. But now there is no other way but to ask Qin Shuyue to help. After taking a shower, Qin Shuyue took out ointment again to wipe Feng Xiaotian's body. In no time, Feng Xiaotian began to fall asleep soundly. Feng Qingyuan couldn't bear to see it. His son is really pitiful, he is only 6 years old. "Qiuyue, you're a bit ruthless." "Xiaotian is only 6 years old," Feng Qingyuan couldn't bear to say. "I also think it's a bit, but you don't know how hard my son is working. I also want to call a halt to his cultivation, but when I see him so serious and hard-working, I don't know how to say it on my lips." Qin Shuyue explained. Later, Qin Shuyue was extremely shocked to tell Feng Qingyuan all about her son's performance today. They finally came to a common conclusion that if this continues, their son will definitely become a strong man on the mainland, at least a title Douluo. Taking another glance at Feng Xiaotian, who was sleeping soundly, Qin Shuyue said, "Let's take out all our savings. We must do our best to cultivate our son. With such hard work in cultivation, we must keep up with the nutrition, eat the best, and equip ourselves with the best things." Feng Qingyuan hugged Qin Shuyue and said, "Wife, I will listen to you. I will also start working hard to earn money and provide our son with the best conditions. Xiaotian will definitely make a name for the whole continent and become our pride in the future." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First Soul Ring, Part 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 9 First Soul Ring, Part 1. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a month has passed. Feng Xiaotian has been practicing outside of Hurricane Valley for a month now. He couldn't stand steady from the beginning, but now he can run inside Hurricane Valley. After 5 days, he was able to stand at the mouth of the Hurricane Valley. The reason why he was so fast was because Feng Xiaotian was different from this world horse walk, which made him stand more stable. Feng Xiaotian, who had been standing for an hour without any movement, had already passed Qin Chuyue's test. Being able to maintain stability for 1 hour is excellent enough. Standing there, that's walking. You can maintain a stable figure while walking, not affected by hurricanes. First, walk slowly, then walk quickly, and finally take a jog. He was able to run freely in 20 days, and in the last 5 days, Qin Chuyue also added difficulty to him. He put on a piece of clothing, which was a bit big and could be blown away by the wind if he didn't pay attention. It further enhanced the wind resistance and also made it more difficult for him to run. In the end, these 5 days were also very difficult, and being blown away was a common occurrence. Every day, Feng Xiaotian is basically practicing at his limit. Since the day he went to Hurricane Valley, his family's food has improved a lot, and he has been taking various supplements and medicines. Although he consumes to the extreme every day and can recover to his best state the next day, Feng Xiaotian doesn't know how much it will cost to eat these things, but he knows that they will definitely not be less. He didn't ask much, just come back and eat to his heart's content every day. He knew it was specially prepared for him by his parents, and he didn't want to disappoint their kindness. The two parents are also considered high-level members of the college, one is the Soul Saint and the other is the Soul Emperor. I believe they still have this resource, which Feng Xiaotian believes they have. What can repay parents is to practice harder and not waste their kindness. 30 days of daily cultivation have made Feng Xiaotian's body at least twice as strong as before, and his body lines have begun to take shape. Now, his physical strength has far surpassed that of his peers, and it is time to obtain soul rings and become a true soul master. Feng Xiaotian has been waiting for too long on this day. In the morning, Feng Qingyuan and Qin Chuyue took Feng Xiaotian to the closest soul hunting forest to Shenfeng City. The other 3 companions who awakened with him this month have also made progress. Each of them has advanced by 1 level, 2 have reached soul power level 8, and 1 has reached level 9, which is also a good speed. Becoming a soul master has also happened in these months. Hunting Soul Forest is about 200 kilometers away from Shenfeng City. Feng Qingyuan also hired a carriage and brought some dry food on the road. Originally, according to Feng Xiaotian's proposal, they could have run all the way and also exercised their bodies. Qin Chuyue refused and also requested Feng Xiaotian not to go to Hurricane Valley for cultivation in the next month. This month's intensity is too high. Although I have taken a lot of supplements every day, I have been practicing at such high intensity for a long time, but it is not beneficial. Practicing requires moderate relaxation, which Feng Xiaotian can understand. The speed of the carriage is not very fast, and it is almost evening when we arrive at the soul hunting town. This time is not a good time to hunt soul beasts. I found a good hotel to stay in the soul hunting town. Upon arriving at the hotel, Feng Xiaotian couldn't help but say, "Dad, what kind of soul beast do you think is better for my first soul ring?" Feng Qingyuan smiled and replied, "We have already considered 3 types of soul beasts that are more suitable for you in this soul hunting forest." "What are the 3 types?" Feng Xiaotian asked curiously. "Although your swallowing wolf is incredibly mysterious, on the surface, your martial soul attribute is mostly wind attribute. Therefore, this time we will hunt down soul beasts with wind attribute or high agility. After my analysis, the 3 types of soul beasts are lightning leopard, gale wolf, and netherworld snake. The first type is as fast as lightning and has long endurance. The second type is Gale Wolf, which has exactly the same attributes as our Gale Magic Wolf and can be considered the best soul beast. The last type is Netherworld Snake, which has a stronger speed than its explosive power. In terms of speed and power, it is stronger than Lightning Leopard, but its speed endurance is much weaker than Lightning Leopard. However, the Wind Wolf has both advantages, so our first goal is the Wind Wolf, analyzed Feng Xiaotian. Feng Xiaotian also found it very reasonable after listening. After all, he is the vice president of a senior Soul Master College, and he still has this insight. Dad, how many years can I absorb soul beasts at most now? Feng Xiaotian asked. It's impossible for him to hunt soul beasts alone. To be honest, it's up to his parents to decide how many years of soul rings he needs to absorb. After thinking for a while, Feng Xiaotian replied, the first soul ring of a person I have seen can be absorbed for more than 200 years at most. That person's physical strength is obviously not as strong as yours. I think Xiaotian, you can absorb soul rings for up to 300 years at most. He originally intended to talk about 400 years, but he also realized that he had not heard of anyone who could absorb 400 years of the first soul beast. If he could not withstand the power brought by the soul ring, he would explode and die. To be conservative, he said about 300 years. 300 years. Can't it be any longer? Feng Xiaotian pondered. His plan was to reach the limit of the first soul ring, at least around 400 years. But my father Feng Xiaotian doesn't seem to have much confidence, and he's not sure if his body can withstand that kind of soul power impact. However, he wanted to give it a try. Over the years, he has been constantly exercising, and this month he has been practicing desperately, just waiting to absorb the strongest soul ring. Qin Shuyue was somewhat disappointed when she saw Feng Xiaotian and said, Son, don't worry, soul beasts that have been around for 300 years are already not weak. When your father and I first absorbed soul beasts, it was less than 200 years ago. Dad, Mom, I want to try a soul beast that has been around 400 years. Please promise me. If he can't even reach the limit of the first soul ring, he won't be willing. Upon hearing their son's request, the two fell silent. Feng Xiaotian was the most physically strong 6-year-old they had ever seen, stronger than some 10-year-old children. I think my son can absorb soul rings for about 400 years, Qin Shuyue suddenly said. Great. Thank you, Mom. Feng Xiaotian excitedly hugged Qin Shuyue. Autumn Moon, it's too risky. Feng Xiaotian still disagrees. This month, Qin Shuyue guarded his son's cultivation, allowing him to once again see the hard-working side of Feng Xiaotian. He believed that his son, who had been a soul beast for about 400 years, could do it. Don't worry, I believe in Xiaotian. He is a child who knows the right balance. 400 years is 400 years. Don't forget that our son is a genius and cannot be compared to others. Qin Shuyue replied. Finally, with the persuasion of Qin Shuyue and Feng Xiaotian, he agreed to his proposal to absorb a soul ring that had been around for 400 years. At night, Feng Xiaotian had some insomnia, and it was false to say he was not excited. Compared to any other traveler who has reached this point, he should be the same as him. He wouldn't believe the protagonists in the novels of his past life. When he came to a different world, his personality would suddenly change. Any loser who had no achievements in his past life would be a calm and wise person in a different world. To reach this point today, besides his strong physical talent, Feng Xiaotian has only achieved a little, only through hard work, that's all. Having a fist blade only gave him an advantage in soul skills and combat, and did not make him an instant presence in the world of change. He had to eat every bite of food, and his cultivation also required a step-by-step approach. Apart from the soul skills brought by the fist blade and some special abilities of swallowing serious, this book will not portray the protagonist as too abnormal. Belonging to the steadily improving protagonist, I would like to express my gratitude to the book enthusiasts who have already collected and voted for this book. Your support is my motivation. Currently, during the new book period, let's not mention anything else. I will ensure 2 updates every day, one in the morning and one in the evening. It is important to have recommended votes during the new book period, so I am seeking a small wave. Thank you all. End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10 First Soul Ring, Middle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 First Soul Ring, Middle. After excitement, it was necessary to ensure his best state the next day, and Feng Xiaotian began to let go of his thoughts. Even so, it took him 1 or 2 hours to fall asleep. The next morning, when he woke up, Feng Xiaotian rubbed his eyes. I didn't fall asleep until around midnight last night, and I was really excited. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became, and the more I couldn't fall asleep. Looking at her son's condition, Qin Shuyue smiled and said, I was a bit excited last night, didn't I rest well? Feng Xiaotian nodded in recognition. It's okay, we were all the same back then. The first time we went hunting soul beasts, it was a bit exciting. You can get used to it by going a few more times, Feng Qingyuan said, gently patting Feng Xiaotian's head. Simply tidy up, all 3 of them have spatial soul guides, which are very convenient. Walking in the soul hunting town, it can be said that there is a bustling crowd. Our team still needs a control-type soul master to hunt down Millennium soul beasts, and the reward is 10 gold soul coins per day. Our team lacks a strong attack-type soul master, who hunts soul beasts that have been around for 500 years and receives a daily reward of 8 gold soul coins. Do you need insect repellent powder? A must-have item for soul hunting, a bag only costs 5 silver soul coins. The sound of selling constantly echoed in Feng Xiaotian's ears, and this was his first time visiting such a place. In these years, he had never even been to the Divine Wind City, let alone the soul hunting town, and had hardly ever left the Divine Wind Academy. Hunting soul beasts is basically a team, which is what ordinary soul masters need to do. Xiaotian, you are very happy. Although your parents' strength is not very strong, they can still help you before you reach level 80. Feng Qingyuan said proudly. At the age of only 46, he is already a level 73, soul saint and has proud capital. By the time his son reaches level 80, I believe he will also have strength above level 80. This is the importance of having a strong family. In an ordinary household, even the soul hunting forest cannot be entered, and there are restrictions everywhere. It is really difficult to obtain a satisfactory soul ring. Most of the people who come to hunting soul town are people with certain abilities, and no one dares to pick a fight along the way. Successfully arrived at the entrance of the soul hunting forest. There are about 10 well-armed soldiers at the entrance. Where's your warrant? The soldier captain glanced at Feng Qingyuan and said, 2 big and 1 small, they must have brought their family members to hunt down soul beasts or soul rings. Feng Qingyuan does not have a token like a master, only a token from the Martial Soul Hall. As the Vice Dean of the Divine Wind Academy, it is easy to obtain a token. The soldier captain carefully checked Feng Qingyuan's warrant and confirmed that it was correct, then ordered the guards to open the door of the soul hunting forest. Passing through the gate of the steel fence and entering the interior of the soul hunting forest, the noisy noise in the soul hunting town has disappeared, and the air has become particularly clear, making people feel comfortable. When they arrived at the soul hunting forest, Feng Qingyuan was not in a hurry to move forward. Instead, he spoke up. The soul hunting forest in Shenfeng City is relatively lower than average, and the oldest soul beast is only 5,000 years old. Therefore, in the future, when Xiaotian reaches level 20, level 30, or even level 40, they can come here to hunt and kill soul beasts. In his eyes, obtaining a perpetual soul ring at level 40 is somewhat unrealistic. It wasn't until Tang San's place that this record was broken. I'm in front, Xiaotian you're in the middle, and Autumn Moon you're behind, to prevent soul beasts from attacking. Feng Qingyuan ordered. To be honest, adding a soul saint and a soul emperor to hunt down soul beasts that have been around for hundreds of years is simply a waste of talent. Only Feng Xiaotian, their son, can be so careful. This forest is like a primitive forest, surrounded by towering trees surrounded by a few people. The scenery of exotic flowers and plants is particularly beautiful. Setting aside the powerful soul beasts inside, having such a forest must have been a 5A level scenic spot in my past life, with extremely expensive tickets. Along the way, I enjoyed the beautiful scenery and constantly paid attention to the surrounding environment. With the aura of my parents, there were few soul beasts approaching. Even if there were, they were all solved by Feng Qingyuan and Qin Chuyue's moves, without using soul power, relying on the power of my body. Every soul master's body also becomes stronger with the strength of their soul power. Otherwise, in the later stage, how can they absorb those eternal soul beasts? The absorption of soul rings mainly relies on the strength of their own body, so the body of the Soul Holy Spirit Emperor is already strong. It took about 20 minutes to walk before they saw the soul beast they wanted, the ghost snake. "Dad, is this ghost snake okay?" Feng Xiaotian looked at the black snake on the tree trunk several tens of meters away. Feng Qingyuan shook his head and said, "No, this ghost snake is only over 100 years old at most. Before 1,000 years, the ghost snake would grow by 10 centimeters every 10 years. This ghost snake is only 1 meter long at most, and its age is not enough." The ghost snake seemed to sense the aura emanating from Feng Qingyuan's body, glanced at him a few times, and then turned around and ran away from the tree. The three of them continued to advance towards the depths of the soul-hunting forest. At the same time, Feng Qingyuan is also telling Feng Xiaotian some knowledge about soul beasts. He only skimmed through the information about soul beasts that night and didn't remember much. With Feng Qingyuan's explanation, I have also learned a lot. Only by truly arriving at Douluo continent can I truly appreciate the extraordinary here, which cannot be fully understood by understanding the plot. The size of the soul-hunting forest exceeded Feng Xiaotian's imagination, and a day quietly passed. They haven't met a suitable soul beast, either it's over the years or it's not old enough. The closest one is a gusty wolf, just over 300 years ago. Still abandoned by Feng Xiaotian, once the goal is determined, he will not easily change it. The first soul ring must be obtained for 400 years, which is the minimum requirement for himself. As evening approached, I also set up a tent to rest. A lot of insect repellent powder was also sprinkled around, and at night, Feng Qingyuan and Qin Chuyue took turns guarding the night. Last night I didn't rest well, and Feng Xiaotian also fell asleep early. I don't know how long I slept, but the sound of fights woke up my sleep and made me laugh. I saw my mother Qin Chuyue guarding beside him, while Feng Qingyuan was outside the tent. "What's wrong?" Feng Xiaotian asked. "It's okay, someone is hunting soul beasts," Qin Chuyue explained. The sound of the fight was getting closer and closer, and Feng Qingyuan spoke outside, "Everyone come out. Someone is hunting soul beasts and is coming towards us." Out of the tent, looking from a distance, two soul masters were teaming up to attack a 200-year-old ghost snake in the dark night. They were both great soul masters at level 20 or above, possessing 2 soul rings. At the same time, they are all 2 yellow configurations. One of the martial souls is a vine-type female control-type soul master, while the other is a wind-type bird-beast martial soul. The vine-type soul master has firmly controlled this ghost snake. The ghost snake is really too fast, and they chased a long distance to control it. Then the soul master of the bird-beast's martial soul used soul techniques and punched the 7 inches above the ghost snake with just the right amount of force. After the hit, the ghost snake only had a trace of breath left. "Xiaomei, hurry up and take the final blow," said the control female soul master. An 8 or 9-year-old girl in pink walked out from the side, took out a dagger and forcefully inserted it into the area where it had just been attacked. It was confirmed that the ghost snake had been killed, and the female control soul master finally retrieved the martial soul. Next is the time for the little girl to absorb soul rings. With the previous example, Feng Qingyuan once again explained to Feng Xiaotian how to absorb soul rings and some precautions, consolidating her knowledge once again. End of this chapter.